These guys make the same mistake of just all stacking left. They
Yeah,
have
it's just
crab
at this
up.
point we didn't really have the right resources to
You don't have any resources,
deal with
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And they also have the benefit. So this is what I'm talking about where crab here is actually pretty good. This is what I'm talking about where crab can just hold in front of everybody and still get value. There's nobody really contesting this area on your team. So the crab coming out here is not only insanely safe, it also opens up all of this sightline. You can't peek it anymore. So now this is
Yeah.
all theirs, even though it's not all their color right now.
Yeah.
Wow, they did that. And they got lead, no way.
Yeah, that's how we lost.
Wait, really?
Um, yep.
Yo, yo.
Hello.
Hey, how are we doing?
Pretty good. How are
Good, good.
you?
I'm alright, I'm alright.
I guess just for a little bit of context, I'm the
Mm-hmm.
ballpoint of the scrim.
Gotcha.
And Ishi, I guess, is the machine.
And your team name is
Oh,
Physalia?
that's,
Physalia?
yeah.
Physalia?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha, cool. What skill level would you guys say you're at, generally?
So this was a scrim in from the Ink Up. I think we're um, I think like Div 6 is safe, let's
6.
say, because we've scrimmed a few. Um, Div 5 teams, it's been a little difficult because it's kind of like wishy-washy with because some like Div 5 teams are um a lot better than us, and then some of them aren't
Mm-hmm.
are a lot easier where we win most of the time. So I would just put us around 6, just
Okay,
probably more consistent there.
fair enough, fair enough. That's good. All right, and I know you didn't put in the application, but like, is there anything kind of from this VOD that you're looking for in particular, maybe?
I have no idea what Ishvi wrote down.
That's fine. It's no big deal. What's up, Ishvi? We made it.
I mean, I'm mostly interested in what caused us to lose momentum because at the beginning of the game we had a really strong opening that
Mm-hmm.
um, I would maybe like a little bit of feedback on because I couldn't tell if it was too risky or if I was in the right place.
For your own plays,
Yeah,
just generally, or
TP.
like team plays? Okay, sure, sure, sure. That works.
I wanted to know, so we were fighting against a Zap comp, and it's getting very popular and very strong right now. So I want to know what we can do to kind of stop their momentum when they're pushing, and like they can just respawn instantly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, yeah, these are things we can just go over as we look throughout the game. That's fine. Was there anything else? Because I remember you said something about being like a tent main.
Yeah, I main tent, but I don't use it really that much on Rainmaker or Tower because it feels kind of bad on those modes a lot, like most of the time.
Fair, yeah,
Uh,
it's not great.
and on I just use Machine because it's what I played before the recent patch.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if there's like some sort of other better option I can use to kind of match what pre-patch Machine was. I
Mm-hmm.
do want to try Slasher, but I feel I'm not really liking having the strike, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Honestly, I don't think there really is a replacement for a machine right now.
Yeah, I know there's not a Machine like a replacement, but maybe just like some other kind of midline that can like the one thing I was considering is maybe Nautilus, but I'm not
Yeah.
super into that kind of playstyle, or like and not into the weapon itself, but something like that.
The thing about like the weapons that you picked is like they all have pretty distinct playstyles. So like
Yeah.
between machine and tent, like even those two, obviously they don't play similarly, but
Mhm.
there's no other weapon that also plays like either of those, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you wanted something easier, like to kind of be able to switch to, I would probably focus more on like how the weapons work mechanically almost, because like those weapons for example work pretty similarly mechanically, so you could shift to a different playstyle if those aren't working for you, like if machine nerfs are too heavy or tent just isn't working on different maps.
Hmm.
So like rapid deco for example is pretty similar in terms of aiming style to like tent or machine or something like that, right? um
Yeah.
Even though the playstyle is different. it's just hard when the weapons themselves they don't have an alternative, you know. So it's either you play that or you employ like some kind of different play style as yourself or as an individual or as like a team. But
yeah, I guess I kind of worded it wrong. It wasn't really playstyle wise, but more just the positions I'd be in, kind of similar. Like I want it to be similar to Machine, which like Slasher kind of is a weapon that can, you know, keep a lot of like shooters out. It's just hard with Machine because of how fast the game is now. It's hard for it to catch up with the nerf to its shot speed.
Yeah, and it also doesn't help that like your alternative, the intuitive alternative would just be, okay, play Slosher, right? But then it just lacks any sort of sustain once it goes in. Like it can work, but you have to land every hit. You know what I mean? And then like past that would be like Stamper or something.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
and I wouldn't really play Stamper because our team has a sword player.
What up, Ray? Oh, so you have a Stamper on your team already? Just show up?
Yeah.
Oh, well, duh. Yeah, you have a Wiper right here. Okay. Sounds good on my end, so we'll see. Good inkjet. Oh, did nobody pick up Rainmaker? Okay. Okay. Gotcha. So here you're looking for, you already have control, so you're looking for kind of like a special, like, so you're looking basically to chain your specials from here on out. So let me go back real quick and kind of see what you guys used.
I know something that we did wrong immediately is that we kind of struggled over who was going to get Rainmaker.
Yeah, definitely. Generally, I don't think you want your splash to do it. Like, you can give it to Machine, but it is also the reason is because it's checkpoint, right? So like, it's not the biggest deal, but setting up your splash is way harder, I should say, or more important than like throwing out a booyah or something like that, right? When it comes to just special usage, so you can get away with just giving it to the Machine, pushing up, getting check, and then playing for like chip damage or booyah a little bit later on for your second push. But you really want Splash's Crab to kind of like hold the ground that you've already claimed. So like, for example, if Seth was already on top left at this point, like as fight's ending, Seth is already by like left checkpoint. As you guys score right, you have Crab on left side, and now they can't push that choke. They have to either dive and trade, or just back off entirely. Okay, so you primarily lose control just because you guys weren't really positioned for fight. So I guess having to rotate for the Rainmaker holds you guys back a lot, but you also have Inkjet Recall, which pulls your ball point all the way back to mid, right? Because it's like behind mid. So now Seth is kind of alone and also not really playing for Crab either. So they basically they hold a really passive angle here. So they can't contest if somebody like drops on by like left checkpoint, that little like ledge there. They can't really see your, well, they could see it, but they probably can't contest if somebody does that, like we see like later on in this fight. And then because the three of the rest of you are basically just behind check and Rainmaker's just running forward, you have nobody to establish control once Rainmaker's shield goes up. So that's kind of like, now it's kind of like a danger zone basically. So E-Leader's not being pressured, gets the pick on the Rainmaker. Now the shield comes out and it splits Luna from the rest of your team. And then by the time this Crab comes out, like this Crab is the thing that should have been holding back the leader to begin with. I do like this. You want to set up like a push on left. So okay, so this is just like a giant choke point, right? So in order to open this choke point more effectively without just praying, although it looks like it's going to work out in this case, maybe. I guess it depends how this goes. But yeah, so you have a disconnect too? Oh no.
What?
Okay. No, it's just the way I
don't
paused
remember
it.
that happening. No, I was like, no, I was confused. Like, I don't.
Yeah, I paused it like on the perfect frame. Yeah, no, basically, having somebody open up the left angle here applies so much pressure on this choke because now you have to worry about fighting, like taking fire from two different angles. So this is like, whether it's an Inkjet or a Crab or anything really, even like strikes, if you could just throw it around like this angle, whatever, to kind of threaten the flank on left, with like a Neo Splash or something. Just having some kind of like flanking presence here opens up, it puts so much pressure on this little angle.
Would you say it'd be better?
Yeah.
if I, as VP, just went on the left grate and just pressured that area?
Yeah, you totally could. So
Okay.
you can do that in two ways. If you didn't want to hard commit, you could um you could play like bottom here because you see my cursor, right? I don't know if stream
Yeah,
doesn't,
yeah.
but okay. So you can play bottom under like under snipe and then jet top left. That way you can immediately just rotate back to right.
Okay, yeah.
But if it's just completely open for you, just walk the grates and you play your range here. It's fine. And you have
Okay.
fizzies for like range damage as well if the main fire isn't enough. So I mean, yeah, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
So typically I would do, if not the ballpoint, I would do the splash. Those are the two I'd prioritize. And that goes for clams too, because I remember you were talking about clam blitz with tent and stuff like that. But so maybe
Yeah.
you could figure out something with that. But again, you want the flank pressure on left, right? So just to reiterate, this is a giant choke. Everybody's gonna focus their attention here. So if you guys are all there, there's no real threat. There's nothing outside of just brute force, like maybe a special push or just diffing the enemy team, that's gonna get you through this choke, unless they just completely fuck up, right? So having the left flank would then divert resources, divert attention, and kind of weaken either one side or the other.
Okay, yeah. Now I notice we're all kind of just trying to push through this area. Okay.
Now they get crab. That's
And now
honestly
we
a
really
very
can't.
bad crab.
Oh.
So in a situation like that, like the Rainmaker is being held, so it's kind of the obvious target. But it's not a crab that's gonna like win them a fight. It's just gonna kill the Rainmaker and just like kind of maintain the status quo basically in a situation like that. Because you guys have all this control in mid. They still have to claim mid after they use the crab. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just not a fan of that one on their part. Good pick. You see,
I
like
don't think they get much from this chat.
they're not. Yeah, they're just not. Don't know about the booyah. Again,
Yeah,
you still want the left pressure. I don't know why you're picking up Rainmaker either. But you see how open this is? If one person goes left, that E-leader's gone. Right? Like, what are they going to do
Yeah.
at this point? It's really dangerous. They had crab too, which is bad.
I think I jetted here a little late. Or they rotated away from me. I only got one kill from it.
Your Jets, it's actually okay, primarily because they misplayed it as well. So they just kind of ran forward into you guys. Like, let me watch that back actually, because I was focused on two different things. Right, so now Enzap's just playing alone. Seth is out of position here, and you can primarily tell, even though they're all in the middle, but like Luna and Ishvi and, well, Goalie now has LOS. They kind of had to like rotate in order to actually like play around the splash. So.
Right.
Then a position like this, Luna gets behind. They just have to kind of run forward at this point. So like, even though the inkjet looked like it didn't do much, pushing them forward into like nowhere, they have no control at this point, right? They have to win that fight straight up, and I don't think it's something you're going to be able to do under most circumstances. So.
Yeah, another Rainmaker almost died here. But I don't know what happens that made us...
No way they win this. Oh, not the hard engage.
Oh yeah, they get check off of that.
What?
The rain was super weak too. From
Okay.
like the first inkjet shot.
Okay. Inkjet was good. Luna flanking was okay. They could have held this angle like by snipe and just pressured it since nobody was like really threatening anything. But it does force the team forward. You are one down, which means Ishvi needs to play like pretty safely, but I think they did fine. You could have been more aggro on the Rainmaker. It's just lack of awareness because you think they're going top, but they move left.
Yeah.
At this point, goalie needs to back up. So you have no paint on this left side. If you do lose control at this point, you're not going to have a retreat option. You're just going to kind of get run over, right? But you should always
Yeah.
be kind of playing your range unless they just like don't know you're somewhere, basically. Right?
I think not paying that also caused the other problem of before, like when our splash like came up to mid, if they painted that area, they would have had crab in that moment where it would have been good, and also we would have had a retreat option here. That was easier.
For Sephi, you mean? Like here? During the beginning?
For the spots, like when there was that crab position that you said that we should have had crab in, I think if they came side there, that would have gotten it. And also
that's true, but also they could have had crab to begin with if they just weren't sharking in a corner for those like 5-10 seconds, right? Like they were like 80%. They just shot a couple bullets down in like trench or whatever, they would have had it. But this is like the core mistake as well. So like goalie pushing up to try to just beam the Rainmaker. One, you don't, okay. The way like Rainmaker mechanics work, you don't even really have to kill them. The longer they hold Rainmaker without being able to push, the more, especially if it's like checkpoint, right? Because you have that kind of like safety net to kind of fuck up. The longer it takes for them to push, the more quickly you're gonna get your special, right? More often you're gonna get it. So just sacrificing yourself to kill the Rainmaker when you guys have like a lead of 41 already and they don't even have check, it's kind of like a missed opportunity or like a wasted opportunity in my opinion, because you're taking not only your own special away for dying, even though you just use your inkjet, so you're probably not even close, but you also take the passive gen of like your teammates as well.
Yeah, I got it backed up earlier.
Yeah,
I don't remember in particular this situation, but I might have gone forward because I knew there was ink behind me. If I tried to get away, the Rainmaker would kill me at this point. So that might have been why I tried to go in to at least get a trade, but not super ideal.
Yeah. This is really the core problem, just not having that painted. Like this whole area here, this whole time you're spending rotating right side, as for Ishvi as well, although it's less bad, is just time you should have spent retreating at that point, because you already lost mid. So like all of this time is just go back, and then even here, you still had the opportunity. I don't think you were getting fired at, right? You just kind of move forward.
Yeah.
Okay, now at this point, you just have to just give him check. Just respect it. This is a good crab. I'd prefer from them. I'd prefer to see it on the other side, just for the same reason. But at least it prevents any kind of trading or anything. You guarantee checkpoint. You do have Booyah. You do have Inkjet. So when you use what's kind of like your end goal when you use your, like, what are you looking for when you use your bio bombs?
I'm not sure. I think it's mainly just to keep them back for a bit, but I think if I just like fizzy and use the main weapon, I can do that just fine without using my special.
Well, just what I mean is like not in this situation. I don't care about this situation right now, but just generally, like, what's your idea when you use bio bomb?
Okay, so when we're like pushing and I want to just keep people out of an area, I use it then. Like just get people out of that area, or just have them move. Like if there's a charger that's just stationary and I want them to move to lose their charge or something like that. Or if like we're on defense, and basically just have it so I put the booyah bomb in a place that I don't want people to be. But I think in this situation, I kind of just threw it where people were, and then they moved, and then it's fine because they still had so much like space to move, and like I don't know.
So I think it's okay to use it like that. I mean, it's a viable way to use it. But when you have like a giant crowd of players like that, all in like one area, it's also good to use the booyah bomb, just generally speaking. But the reason is different. You can use it as like more than like a smoke screen. It's like an active, think of like a massive bomb. The bomb displaces anybody who's standing near it, right? So throwing it in the middle of a group of players forces them to disperse outwards from like the epicenter of that bomb, correct? Or the booyah bomb or whatever. So you can use that to your advantage in the sense, like if you threw it between the E leader and the tri-slasher here, for example, right? The tri-slasher would have to run forward, the E leader would have to back up, and would also lose LOS. Like they can still hit you with like a predict shot, but it's harder. And like those are the situations in which you can just dive the Tri-Slosher because now he's separated from half of his team. When you throw Booyah Bomb here, well, I mean, one, we'll ignore that it's blind. Right? Like, what is it? Assuming we use it like that, because I think that's the only viable way to use it in a scenario like this. What is it actually splitting in this kind of like scenario? Nothing.
Yeah,
really. It's just kind of holding them for a second. So the Zap splits himself, right? That's not really what Booyah Bomb's doing. But at the same time, there's no real pressure being exerted from that like Booyah Bomb. Jet is fighting the Charger. I like the idea of displacing the Charger. It's okay.
I sometimes do that to try to charge to pressure them, but sometimes I miss. It feels bad.
Yeah, the thing is like Charger's pretty good against Inkjet, and the better the Charger, the more likely you're just gonna get beamed out of the air, right?
Mm-hmm.
I personally prefer to use Inkjet as more of a consistent chip damage kind of thing. So it's like just putting, you don't even have to play for the direct really. I mean, you aim for it obviously, but just kind of aim for the easiest target to hit. In this case, the E-liter is easy, but the second that E-liter moves or tries to evade, you just hit somebody else, somebody that your team's fighting, land the 50 damage, and your team just like one shot directs it or like two taps it with a splash or something, you know, to kind of guarantee the kills and assists. If you try to like go for solo kills, or like I keep seeing Inkjets fight other Inkjets, it's such a waste for both of them.
Yeah.
Like if an Inkjet shoots at you, just ignore it and just shoot at their teammates, you know, stuff like that. And same with like an E-liter, you know. But yeah, no, the idea, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Just play for chip damage rather than just like landing the trick shot direct or whatever. Well, this is a Hydra. You have full permission to bully Hydras.
Oh, that really sucked.
Honestly, just diff. Yeah, playing the crab here too, like on top mid. The reason I don't like it is because that's already being contested, right? So you don't know. Okay, crab is really good at. Let me get my charger before I forget, because that would not be good. Yeah, so crab, you don't really know what's happening on like the other side of mid here. Plus you have the wave breaker down, although I don't think it'll hit Seth here. But basically, popping crab like this, you wanna use crab to establish control over something that you like technically already have. If there's somebody on you, you're not really gonna want to pop crab. Like you can get away with it in some instances, and it's not 100% true all the time, because there are some times where you want to use it as like bait, like HP pool kind of hit me like a Tembrella shield. Yeah. But in a situation like this where you're kind of already losing control and you need to stay alive and you need to exert pressure, you would use it somewhere closer to like here, right? Where you're kind of already beginning to lose control, or like somewhere up top, like opposite of snipe.
Okay.
That way you can you hold what you already have, right? And if somebody's like, okay, we're going to push for control or whatever, we're going to push for map control in mid, then you have the crab to lock down at least one sight line, two sight lines, maybe get a pick, right? And land damage to soften up enemies for like a counter push. But if you pop it in mid, where you're already being pushed, your control's already being contested there, then you risk just getting run over, or in this case bummed, right? Flanked, anything like that, right? Just because the ground you're already trying to hold is shaky. To clarify, because you can crab mid, I would normally crab mid when you already kind of have control of it. So for example, let's say you win a fight mid and there's people defending, let's say it's like Clan Blitz or something, and they opt to defend here, right? Towards like the right checkpoint, for example, right? Yeah. That's when you use crab to kind of lock down both of these sight lines and also land damage behind snipe for anybody kind of retreating, right? If they opt to push, they push directly into a crab. So they lose that option basically, and they're forced to play defensively at that point, right? But if they're already here and you crab, okay, you know.
Right. for the most part, do you want things in front of your crab in that kind of scenario? If you have control over an area and you're just using it to, you know, force other team out of what they have control of?
Yeah, crab can hold like a front line at some points if it's just faster and like faster than the rest of the team. So like in some cases, let's say like museum's a good example. If you can get a crab in Rainmaker or whatever pushed up ahead of the Rainmaker and just like get on spinner and crab there to lock down everything ahead of it, that's really good because the crab is already hard to contest. If you already know you cleared spinner, if you already know that, then yeah, go ahead and crab and try to go for another pick or something like that, or play the grates on top of spinner for the same effect, right? But like you wouldn't do it if you knew somebody was on spinner. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same idea. Yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't always have to be behind the rest of your teammates. It totally matters like where the enemy team is and like what you're able to control without contest.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That actually clears up a lot of things. Okay.
Wow, they did that. And they got lead. No way.
Yeah, that's how we lost.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Okay, if that's the case, then I'm more interested in your push. So I'm gonna go back up to basically why did you stop at 41, right? Same idea. The Booyah Bomb's okay, but you can make this is sort of, how do I explain? There's two different kinds of plays that you can make, right? You can make reactive ones and you can make proactive plays, right? Reactive plays would be something like, oh, there's somebody flanking, let me stop the flank, right? Oh, there's an E-leader on snipe, let me displace the E-leader on snipe so we can move up or something like that, right? Proactive plays would be, I have this tool, how can I use it to put the enemy in a bad spot that we can immediately capitalize off of? Like, how can we force a mistake? So like dislodging the E-leader, it's not a mistake, it's something forced, but it's not like a mistake on the E-leader because the mistake would be standing there and dying. You know what I mean? A mistake would be like somebody's a little bit like, let's say they're positioned aggressively. It's not necessarily bad, but like we were talking about earlier with the Booyah Bomb, throwing a Booyah in between like them and the rest of their team to force them forward and then overextend. The overextension would be the mistake at that point, right? So when you just dislodge an E-leader like this, you're gonna, like, E-leader has high downtime, it's gonna be impactful to a degree, but there's so much more value you can get out of it, you know? Displace, zap drops. So you were fighting it and Seth was fighting it and Goalie was fighting it, and then you just kind of forgot about him.
Yeah.
I was really afraid to approach the end zap, even though I can shred him.
That makes sense, but staying in a position like this is separating you from the rest of your team, right?
That's true. Yeah, I think I backed up too much.
Yeah, when the objective is mobile, so out basically anything but zones and maybe some clams, because technically it's mobile. When the objective is mobile, if somebody's flanking, right, there's the chance they just go so far and they're in too deep that they're just a non-factor at this point. That's the case here. Like, Seth dropping on the zap made him get value, like it gave the zap value, right?
Yeah.
And I don't hate the idea of ignoring the zap entirely. I think it's a misplay because it was an easy kill, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like the worst thing ever. The worst thing ever is then letting him get out of it scot-free. So like positioning your ball point all the way back here rather than, again, the same idea, on top of mid, through the grates, past snipe, something like that, right? If your entire team is pushed up like this and it's just a zap behind you, it's not a real threat, you know? It's not something like a hammer or a kraken or something that can just walk into you and get kills.
Yeah.
It has to cross a huge orange gap in order to actually like do anything anymore, unless it jumps out. So having like Goalie here not position in a way where it has to go between them and the rest of your team was a huge misplay, on top of just letting him live to begin with when he was vulnerable.
Makes
And then
sense,
also
yeah.
forgetting that he existed, which is another huge problem. So this is defensive, right? Yeah. Seth drops.
Oh.
It's not a fight you want to take. Even let's say at like a higher level, if a Tri-Slash is sharking that corner or just like pre-firing that corner, there's no chance you even touch the ground before you're already like 2 HP. You know what I mean? Like there's no reason to take that fight.
I think we could have maybe played off of Luna's bait a bit more, because they do
Yeah.
get like literally all of them on
That's
upside.
that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like if Luna's gonna run forward, you want Seth following up on it, not Seth taking their own fights and Luna taking their own fights. You know?
Yeah.
So you want somebody to play kind of like, well, not necessarily feedy, but you want them to play the more like I'm going to get in your face kind of fight, even if they play for their life, just so like you create those kind of openings for like Seth to run in, for example. But if they're just gonna hard like just dry push every time, especially if they have Crab, which is so strong still, like Splash in general, it's just like it's a wasted effort, I think. These guys make the same mistake of just all stacking left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
Crab
at this
up.
point we didn't really have the right resources to
You don't have any resources.
deal with
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And they also have the benefit. So this is what I'm talking about where Crab here is actually pretty good. This is what I'm talking about where Crab can just hold in front of everybody and still get value. There's nobody really contesting this area on your team. So the Crab coming out here is not only insanely safe, it also opens up all of this sightline. You can't peek it anymore. So now this is all theirs, even though it's not all their color right now.
Yeah. Well, maybe Luna shouldn't have dropped there.
Yeah, I think it's too late at that point. Yeah, and then at this point it's kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think because I don't want to go too heavy with like everything we mentioned, but I think the biggest takeaways would be kind of like your team positioning. So again, forcing everybody into a choke, it's not good. You want to look to open up your angles, right? So Splash is really good at that. Inkjet's really, really good at that. So like having somebody like take flank angles or like use Inkjet from somewhere that would take resources away from the zone or away from like choke or something like that is in your best interest, right? You don't want to play one-dimensionally. Secondly, like opening. One, all of you should be playing, well, maybe not Luna, but you should all be playing around your specials to a degree, right? And definitely paint your side of the base, obviously, right? Like we saw the effects of that when you lost fight in mid. Those are probably like the two biggest things. You should never have, like in Seth's case, like 80% to Crab while you're in their base and not try to play for it, you know? And then third thing would be your actual like the actual like usage of your specials. So you're looking for proactive plays, something that if I use it, the enemy has to react to me in a way that is advantageous to us. Like that's what you're looking for every time you use a special, like a high impact special. So Inkjet, Crab, Booyah Bomb, stuff like that. And we already kind of like talked over what that would look like. So Booyah Bomb would be, for example, separating teammates and then pushing one of the people who are forced to overextend if you're able to do that, right? You could also use it as an initiation tool. We didn't really talk about it as much, but using the Booyah Bomb as sort of like a smoke screen for like Seth, for example, to be able to push up more safely. Even though it's not 100% safe, it's a lot safer than just going in dry, right? Inkjet, like we just said earlier, you want to use it from off angles and you want to use it to land consistent damage rather than just to hit a long range direct or something like that. It can be good against an E leader or a ballpoint at range or something like that if you have the shot lined up. But if you fire one shot and the E leader's alive, play around what your team can fight. Don't just play around trying to fish for that kill anymore, right? Because at that
Makes
point, it's
sense.
kind of a wasted effort.
Yeah, they know I'm there.
Exactly, yeah. And now they can even play around it. There's a chance you get down from it. And then thirdly, when it comes to Crab, you want to look for the ability to control space. So if you are using crab in a place that's being contested already, probably not going to be the best crab, right? You have high likelihood of just getting shredded immediately or flanked or just beamed straight from your crab to begin with. There are some exceptions, but I wouldn't really worry about them too much. It'll kind of make sense as you see it from like other players or something like that, right? Or like a top level VODs. Generally speaking, you just want to crab from some place that you want to control in the future.